What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. Today we've got a little more expanded content for you. I know I've been a little slow on content. Last week was super busy for me, so we're going to be talking about an old favorite that hasn't really gone anywhere, Zoroark Garbodor. Zoroark and Garbodor are two of the best cards ever printed this game has seen, and putting them together in one deck makes it a little bit of a force to be reckoned with. So in case you guys have forgotten about this deck, don't, because it's back. Let's break down the list a little bit and why I chose some of the cards I did. We have a Ditto Prism. This is a really obvious inclusion. 4/4 Zoroark. Paralyzing Gaze is the correct one, I think, still, because you can break lock from anything like a Mew 3 or something, like a Toad or, whatever degenerate stuff. Trade, pretty good attack. Riot Speeding, pretty good attack. Yeah, that's that. Two propagation executes, because while you don't always need these executes, and once you get the Garbodor lockup, you don't get to use them. Early game, it's really good to not discard important resources by using Treasure and Ultra Ball and just go through your deck a little bit quicker. So that's why I really like the executes in the deck. They're just kind of fodder at some points in the game. There's a Let Loose Marshadow because it's another hand reset early in the game, because you do need to bridge it turn 1 or the game does get really hard. There's two Tapu Lele, because you need a Tapu Lele for Brigette turn 1, and then Tapu Lele for a supporter turn 2 could be pretty good. But this could also be, the 2-1 split makes it so you have like a pseudo Lele or pseudo hand reset, which is good. There's 3 Trubbish Stomp Off. I think Stomp Off is the best one. You can play 1 Garbage Collection to deal with mill stuff, but I think Stomp Off is just better in a lot of situations. Just get rid of the top card and just maybe get a huge advantage that way. There's only 1 Garbotoxin, because I think that's all you ever really need in a matchup, and a lot of the time they will struggle to kill your Toxin, and you do have a Stretcher, so Toxin plus Stretcher should be fine a lot of the time. And I think that's just okay to have 1 Toxin, because a lot of the time you want to get Trash Lunch out to attack with, because Trash Lunch is really, really strong. If they're not playing items, they're probably playing really slow, so Garbodor plus Zoroark plus DCE plus N usually can deal with it in a lot of the situations. But if they are playing a lot of items, and they're trying to kill Garbodor, which they will do at that point, because they want to, get rid of the items off the board and just do stuff. That's where Trash Lunch comes in and cleans up. Trash Lunch is super, super good against things like Mew 3 now, because a lot of the Mew 3 decks do play heavy items, so for just a couple items, you're blowing them up. Yeah, there's a Computer Search, because I think that's the best ace spec of choice, just to get set up early. I prioritize early setup a lot of the time with these decks, especially in a format where some of the decks do not feel fair. So Computer Search and early setup is very, very important to me. And yeah, 2 Field Blower, because you want to you want to pop other parallels, discard tools, and just put items into the discard with the tools to get more damage with Trash Lunch. There's 3 Mysterious Treasure, because that gets up pretty much half the deck with the Treasure, and I really like that. It could also be 2 Treasure, 1 Compressor is what I was testing earlier, because the 1 Compressor lets you get the Execute and mill a little bit more. There's 1 Rescue Stretcher. It could also be 2. I was testing that as a 2-2 split also, just because you have only 1 Garbodor and like 1 Let Loose, so you might want to reuse those. But a lot of the time, you don't really need to use more than 2 Garbodors ever, so that's really where you can kind of draw the line. There are 4 Ultra Balls. Paired with Execute, you're not really burning too many resources to get stuff out, but once you get Ultra Ball and set up, you're pretty much rolling. Once you get Zoroarks on the field, you have 1 Execute and discard, you're pretty much prop drawing and getting a bunch of free cards until you choose to Garb Lock the game. And at that point, you just do what you want. You can even blower your own tool to open up the executes again to get a bunch of cards, get card advantage, and then retool your Garbodor if you need to, which I think is really, really cool. And that's why I really like blowers also. There's 3 VS Seekers, because you don't really need 4. You can go to 4. I just don't think you'll ever really need the 4th one. But yeah, I mean, I think 3 is fun. There's 3 Parallel Cities, because I think Parallel is like one of the most important cards at just slowing down your opponents, because I think Zoroark is it that capitalizes on your opponents making mistakes and slowing down your opponent, especially with the increased power creep of Mew 3 coming into the format, and Zora Ninja and Turbo Dark coming in and causing a lot of problems for decks. You don't need to play the Mew anymore in this deck, or Mew or Mime, because the Espeoxys route has been the route of choice as opposed to the Wailord choice for a lot of the decks in the Archie's deck. And if that happens turn 2 and you lose 3 Zorus or something, the game's going to be over anyway. So you need to parallel them early, force them to just get stuck, not be able to bench the SB Axis and set that up. Because if they mess that up and like have to go into SB Axis and don't get the 6 energy turn, your Garbodor takes a free 3 prizes, which is really good for just coming back into the game and taking advantage. So you don't really care about the mime because there's too many things that circumvent the mime at this point in time. And I guess the only thing that really matters is Pika, but in Pika you're matching them blow for blow, and I think that's a fine matchup. There's an Acerola because it's very good for healing, and just if your Zoroark doesn't die for some reason, you can just pick it up and recycle the Zoroark and everything that was attached to it. It's just a reset, forces your opponent to waste a turn pretty much, and gets you another trade. There's 2 Brigettes. It's the most important turn 1 supporter in the deck, and I think only playing 1 is kind of stupid. And you need to get the Brigette turn 1, and that'll pretty much set you up for the rest of the game. There's 1 Colress because I think a lot of decks aren't playing super big benches anymore. Mew 3 Box maybe playing Skyfield, and Turbidork maybe playing Skyfield, but other than that, everything else is playing parallels or more controlling aspects. So while you just keep the Colress in there as an option to mid to late game, you have a full bench almost always, so you're getting 5 no matter what off the Colress. So, and then your opponent, you can always reliably say have 1 or 2, so you're getting a full 7 and not discarding cards, which is a little bit more important in my opinion than doing what you need to do. There's a Faba, because you can play the deck more like a control-y aspect, kind of like how DDG did it. My list is based on the DDG list from Hartford that Isaiah Williams got top 4 with, where you can play a little bit more control-y and slow down the pace of the game. Against Mew 3, you can Faba them, you can Blower them, you can break the Noivern unlock if they opt to go that route. You can choose to just Faba all their energy away and simply put yourself in the best position to force them to burn resources and find another Prism, another Rainbow against things like bees or whatever. You can just get rid of like their stuff. I think teching a Karen or Oricorio is just wrong right now because bees and Night March are not the issue because the power creep is so high. That's why that has also exited the deck, because there are bigger issues to deal with in the overall grand scheme of things, which is just not dying to Turbo Dark, which I think is the best deck right now in the format, and Archie's Toys, which is second best deck in the format. There's 1 Guzma, 1 Lysandre split because I think 2 Gust effects are always really, really good and expanded, because hedging all your bets on having your 1 Gust effect and it isn't prized is really a strange bet to make, because a lot of the time it doesn't work out the way you think it's going to work out, and you could lose a game because Guzma is one of your last prizes, or like that's one of your prizes. And sometimes you can't Guzma in this deck because you might have something stuck active, or like not have a Float Stone to close out the game. So Lysandre, that's where it kind of comes in handy a little bit more. That being said, you do play 3 Float Stones, so it's not like the end of the world if you do want to play 2 Guzma over Lysandre, but I'd like having a split of options just to have something. Like an early game like DCE Lysandre with Lele or something, just pop something in the mouth, paralyzing gaze something, I don't know. Yeah, it just gives you options, especially like against Plume, where you may not have a tool down on the board because you've already been Plume locked, so you go Lysandre, bring it up, smack it, and get back into the game that way. There's 2N because I think you're going to fall behind. You're not the aggressor as a deck, so you'll be losing prizes as you go. So 2N makes it so you can make a reliable comeback into the game, and I really like that because heavy N counts means you can just keep going N, Zoroark, because you can refill your hand with Zoroark, where a lot of decks might not be able to, and they have to burn resources like Sycamores, yada, yada, yada. So you're just going N, smack, N, smack, N, smack, and let them take the first couple prizes, and then you can go N, Toxin, Parallel, smack. And then eventually, when they're down a lot of items, that's when Trash Lines comes in and cleans up. There's 1 Sycamore because you don't really need more than 1. Having 1 prize kind of sucks, but you do have 2N, a Sycamore, a Colress, and trades that exist. So you have 4 draw supporters plus Let Loose Lele, and the bridge is what you need turn 1. So you aren't really not playing that many supporters in Expanded. It's just that you don't need to play that many supporters in Expanded. This being prize and this being your only option does suck sometimes, or vice versa, but it's fine. The treasure slot, like I said, the 3rd treasure cut can go anywhere you want to make it, wherever you have a little bit of concern. There's 2 dumbbells because the 40 HP is really, really important, and this just means a lot of things can't kill you because 250 is a annoyingly hard number to reach, especially like Pikarom and Turbodark even has to get 1 extra energy onto them, or like a Fury Belt or a Laser or whatever. And so this gives you 1 extra turn of just Acerola and staying alive and gaining tempo back in your favor, because Zoroark isn't, like I said, it's not the 1-shot deck. It's the 2-shot deck until you can get Crash Launch online to do enough to close out the game. So dumbbells really does help, and I think it is a tool of choice because you're not really going, like 150 doesn't change into math anymore, and like you don't care about all that, and there's no, unless like a Skyfield gets put down and you put 8 things on your bench, which I think is just wrong to do a lot of the time. You don't need to do a one-shot ever, and you don't really have the means to one-shot ever besides Garbodor, but like even then, that's whatever. You can just dumbbells that and it's got 160 HP. There's 3 float stones. A 4th one would be really nice, honestly, but I think 3 is fine because you only play the 1 toxin and just movement is an issue sometimes. You can kind of throw these down wherever you want, whenever you want. There's 4 double colorless because Zoroark is the main attacker. And there's 3 psychic because you need to be able to attack with these. If you played a garbage collection, you could play garbage collection Trubbish, like a 2-1 split, play 2 psychic and a super rod, which I also think is fine. And then the stretcher slot can become something else, whatever you want, or you can play stretcher plus super rod, giving yourself the option to give garbage collection super rod, beating stall a lot of the time. Now that being said, Chip Ice Axe does mitigate your top deck, and Surge plus other degenerate stuff could change that aspect of it, so you might just lose to Sableye Garb maybe, but I think at the end of the day this deck is pretty good. Zoroark Garbodor didn't really go anywhere, and I think this is all top contender for the format. It's not a tier 1 threat anymore, but it is like the tier 2 rogue that could come back and take down the meta. That being said, it's weird to say Zoroark is a rogue, but Garbodor is very good at punishing. Zoroark and Garbodor are both cards that are very good at punishing players who don't play around either of those cards and don't play well. So that being said, this was one of the biggest decks last year. It is going to be one of the bigger decks this year. Again, I think it expanded. So test it out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like I said, all my expanded has been theory so far. I haven't really had a chance to go into too much detail because nobody's really testing expanded. But if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and catch me on Twitch at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Thursdays. I would really appreciate the support. Twitch.tv/theflea. Thank you guys so much for watching. Catch you next time.